A file watcher job shows success, but the downstream job crashes with file empty. The upstream system wrote a 0-byte placeholder before the real data, and min file size, 0 let it through. Let's break down file watcher jobs in AutoSys, how it works, and the exact mistake behind that failure. A file watcher job is like a security guard at a loading dock. It polls a directory at a configurable interval, and when a file appears that meets the minimum size, it marks itself success and triggers dependent jobs. A file watcher job is defined in JIL with job type, FW. The key attribute is watch file, the path to monitor. The job succeeds when a matching file meets min file size. The file stays on disk. Downstream jobs must handle it. Here's a real file watcher definition. It watches for settlement CSV files between 7 a.m. and 11 p.m., requires at least 512 bytes, and triggers a downstream CMD job on success. The watch file attribute supports the asterisk wildcard, but it matches only the file name, not subdirectories. Crucially, the watcher triggers on the first matching file it finds. If multiple files arrive simultaneously, only one triggers. Be specific with wildcards. A broad pattern like data inbound matches everything, including temp files. The safe pattern uses atomic rename, write to TMP, rename to ready, and watch for ready. The run window attribute limits when the watcher is active, but when the window opens, the watcher sees all matching files, including stale ones from previous days. A file from Friday can trigger on Monday morning. This watcher only runs between 6 a.m. and 8 p.m., but if a file from yesterday is still there at 6 a.m., it triggers immediately. To prevent that, use a date-stamped watch path. File watcher jobs trigger when the OS reports the file, not when writing finishes. On NFS or under load, the file may appear before all bytes are written. The minage attribute tells AutoSys to wait n seconds after file appearance before triggering. Setting minage to 30 seconds gives the upstream process time to finish writing. For network mounts, start with 30 seconds. For local files, 10 seconds is usually enough. This is the same issue we highlighted at the start. Here's exactly why that happened. The file watcher had min file size, 0, meaning any file, even a 0-byte placeholder, would trigger success. The upstream system wrote a lock file first, the watcher fired, downstream processed nothing, and data silently vanished. Setting min file size to 0 causes the watcher to trigger on file creation, not write completion, leading to processing of empty or partial files. This misconfiguration enabled a production incident where a 0-byte file was consumed. The fix is straightforward. Set min file size to at least 1024 bytes and work with upstream teams to use atomic file moves, write to a TMP file, then rename to the final name. This ensures the file is complete before the watcher sees it. This is the exact setting that caused the incident. Min file size, 0 means any file, including a 0-byte placeholder, triggers the watcher. Always set a positive value like 1024 for text files. Without a date in the watch path, a file from yesterday sitting in the directory will trigger the watcher as soon as the window opens. Always include a date pattern or validate file age downstream. Without minage, the watcher triggers the moment the file appears. If the upstream process is still writing, downstream jobs read a partial file. Always set minage to at least 10 seconds. A wildcard that matches everything will trigger on lock files, temp files, or any other file in the directory. Always narrow your pattern to match only the final, ready files. When upstream writes multiple data files, use a marker file to trigger the watcher once. This avoids flooding the scheduler with job instances and prevents missed files. The minage attribute tells AutoSys to wait n seconds after file creation before triggering, mitigating race conditions with network mounts or slow writes. Use it when you cannot control the upstream write pattern. To prevent stale file triggers at window open, embed the current date in the watch file path using JIL variable substitution. This ensures only today's file is matched. When a file watcher doesn't trigger or triggers incorrectly, start with autorep Q to see the exact watch file pattern. Then SSH to the agent machine to verify the file exists and check its size. The agent checks locally, so your workstation's view doesn't matter. Let's run through some common interview questions. What is an AutoSys file watcher job? A job type. FW that monitors a file path and triggers downstream jobs when a file appears and meets min file size. What does min file size do? Specifies minimum bytes, default 0 triggers on empty files. Set to 1024 plus to avoid empty file traps. How does run window affect stale files? It restricts active hours but doesn't filter by age. Stale files trigger when the window opens. And a few frequently asked questions. What is a file watcher job? A job type. FW that monitors a file path and triggers downstream jobs when a matching file meets min file size. Why did my watcher trigger on an empty file? Min file size was 0 or omitted, set to at least 1024 bytes. Can a file watcher detect files on a remote server? Yes, via the agent on the machine specified in the machine attribute. To recap, never set min file size to 0, use run window with date-stamped paths, be specific with wildcards, and always verify file existence on the agent machine. These practices will save you from silent data loss and late-night pages. Ready to go deeper? Up next, JIL one-time job overrides, then AutoSys job scheduling and time conditions, then AutoSys job dependencies and conditions. Find them all at TheCodeForge.io. Thanks for watching. The full article and code examples are covered in detail at TheCodeForge.io.